AoC meeting number 23. Let's go ahead and get started right away with Z1 Unknown's topic. He wanted to talk about a preferred role system in Ranked, so players have an idea of what role they want to play based on their team. He also wanted to talk about a gold reward for playing tank in casuals, since it would reduce the number of teams with 3 to 4 DPS characters on them, and it would allow players to optionally grind faster while promoting more well-rounded team comps. Now, we did talk about this in the last meeting if you guys remember, but I suppose Z1 wanted to further push the idea and get more follow-up on it. The devs said they do like the idea of both of those things, and they are things they want to do, but neither of them are things they can do soon. They're long-term ideas. They have given more thought to incentives for picking tank and support specifically, but there's a lot of factors to take into account with it that they still need to work out. Next up is my topic. Surprise, it's about balance again, and something with voice chat, but mostly balance. So I get a lot of complaints about Tiberius feeling clunky to play due to his lockouts around his heavy blade. I think allowing you to fire while throwing or recalling the sword would be pretty busted. So instead I asked them if they could remove the lockout that prevents you from throwing or recalling your sword while you're reloading. I've also noticed that his Tigron's Fury talent has a pretty inconsistent detonation time delay. I know the delay is supposed to be there by design, but I know it's not supposed to be inconsistent. I also did talk about his leap. I know you guys hate the windup on it, but that's a core design thing that the devs want to keep so he doesn't feel more like a flank. So instead I asked them if they could give him more air control while using his leap, so you can control where you land easier. This would also make his Vicious Assault talent more viable. The devs said they do want to look into possibly removing that reload lockout. They also want to investigate the inconsistent delay on Tigron's Fury, but they need some more examples and info on it, so I'll follow up with them on that. They also do want to look into giving his leap more air control. Next was Jenos. Now, some of you may have seen my tweet on Twitter where I asked about how people feel about Luminary. I also asked that if it was to be removed, what would players give him to compensate for that? Because right now, he's incredibly reliant on Luminary to be good, but Luminary is also pretty hated and it doesn't make him all that fun. It only makes him an amp bot. I was thinking on how to make him more fun and less frustrating to fight without messing with how he plays mechanically. Because in the past I've found that when it comes to popular characters, the devs don't really like messing with them mechanically because it could hurt their play rate. So mainly it comes down to number tweaking and not anything mechanical, at least when it comes to his base kit. I had this idea where Luminary could be replaced with something else, maybe some other kind of utility talent or heal talent, and his base damage could be increased. Because his original design goal was to be an aggressive support like Furia, but since Luminary exists, the older devs nerfed his damage pretty hard, 2 different times at that. A lot of people who responded to the tweet ended up having the same idea. So I did decide to ask the devs about it, even though I know it's quite a long shot for them to remove Luminary. The devs do find that the Luminary thing is a harder sell for them, but they do want to think more on the ideas I gave them before saying yes or no. They are still going to go through with nerfing his Light Years card, but they do want to take some time to think on reworking Luminary and making him more in line with his original design goal. Next is Eevee. A lot of Eevee players feel that Eevee isn't worth the investment right now. It's not that Eevee isn't good, because Eevee definitely still is, but Eevee does take more work than other flanks for less reward. A lot of Eevee players wanted her flicker nerf to be reverted. The devs said that Eevee was at the top of the pro meta for a long time and they want her to remain there at a pro level, but they also feel that Eevee has a lot of self-sustain already from her mobility, since most of the time Eevee isn't getting hit in the first place by a majority of players. Eevee is a character they want to be super careful about messing with. They're going to keep an eye on her for the next few updates and go from there. Next is Damba. Players feel he's in the same boat as Eevee. Takes a lot of skill, but is outclassed by others. I get asked a lot to ask for a Damba buff, mainly to return his Spirit's Chosen talent to its former glory. The dev said that statistically speaking, Damba is healing more than any other support in their game at Diamond plus Elos, so he's the most effective healer from a numbers standpoint. They're not too certain on messing with Damba right now. After a bit of thought, they did decide that they want to investigate the difference between Damba's healing talents, because it could be solely the Gourd talent that's giving him those high heal numbers. They're still hesitant on buffing him though, because it's very possible that he only feels weak because Jenos and Furia are so powerful. So they think it may be better to nerf them first and then see where Damba stands after. That was it for balance, but I also did bring up how in ranked, voice chat lets you talk to everyone on your team, regardless on if they're in your party or not, but casual doesn't seem to let you talk to other players at all, or at the very least players outside of your party. I've had times where players tell me they're talking to me, but I can't hear them because they're not in my party. The devs are saying that's not how casual voice is supposed to work, and that it sounds like a bug, but they were pretty convinced that it was working normally everywhere. They want me to send them more cases of it not working, so I'll get on that too. Next up is Bitey's topic about dated abilities and talents. First up was Drogoz' Salvo. Its only real purpose right now is to be paired with Fire Spit. It doesn't normally do a lot on its own. The devs don't want to rework it, but they are interested in improving aspects of it. Next is Makoa's Leviathan talent. The devs aren't happy with the talent, but they're waiting for mid-season to mess with it. Then there's Fernando's Formidable. It's on the devs' radar and it has been for some time, and they are looking at it, but there's nothing to say about it right now. Bitey also wanted to know how he could help them solve the server problems that have been messing up the game recently. The devs said to send them match IDs of the games that have server problems, because then they could pull data from that game and that'll help them fix the problem. They also don't need the games to be spectated for them to pull data from them. If you don't know what a match ID is, it's the big number every game has in your match history. Next up was Libra, who wanted to talk about improving the tutorial, updating it and putting a clear tutorial tab on the main menu. The devs do agree that they need to do some revamped tutorials, but there's nothing to publicly share on that topic at the moment. Libra also asked if the in-game tips could be updated. The devs said they recently updated the loading tips and they're willing to update the in-game ones as well. Next up was Couch, and he wanted to talk about the tutorial page as well. Him and Libra basically had the same topic, so they ended up duoing the topic together. Next up was Gabinet, who wanted to talk about bots in ranked. He wanted to see if the team with a bot could be given the option to pause the game, with a limit of 2 minutes, so the player has time to return to the game without his team suffering a major disadvantage. If the ally reconnects before the 2 minutes are up, the game could be unpaused. Solution 2 was making it so the team with the bot would receive a bonus 5 credits per second, then when the ally reconnects, the bonus would be disabled. He also asked if it was possible to put the two solutions together. The devs aren't too big on the idea of the bonus credit thing, but they are interested in the idea of letting you pause the game for up to 2 minutes if your ally disconnects. Next up is Yago's topic on console quality of life stuff. He brought up crashes on Switch and PS4. He said many players would prefer a 30 FPS game that runs better, rather than a 60 FPS one that crashes. The devs are willing to take a look at that idea, but the 60 FPS thing is considered one of the game's crown things. Yago also brought up aim assist again. The devs are still looking into it, they just need to find the time to really tackle it. You could probably expect something on it in the next few updates. Yago also talked about how the new VGS system should have need healing and help be separate. The devs don't really want to do this because it will take significantly more work with 2 different VGS systems. Yago also brought up improving the gyro system, maybe having a separate option for gyro sensitivity on scopes. The devs said that if they do anything to gyro, it would be in the long term since not a lot of players use it. The last topic is from Glenn ZA and it's about the new MVP screen, accolades, and commendations. Apparently a lot of players don't realize the commendation button is a button, and Glenn feels like it needs to pop out at players more so they realize it. The devs do want to make the button stand out more and maybe toss in some audio feedback with it as well. Glenn also brought up how their players want to see when their teammates have disconnected, instead of having to guess. Originally, the devs wanted to avoid making players more frustrated by making them quickly realize a teammate has left, but now they're thinking differently on it and are discussing the possibility of making this request a reality. And yeah, that's it, that's all the topics from this AoC meeting. If any of you have any other feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments below. And that's pretty much it, guys. I want to thank you all for watching, I very much appreciate it, and I'm gonna see you guys later. Bye.